are quite good. Attack warning.
Is it for real?
Attack warning. It's for bloody real.
Live from Colorado Springs, the Drop Culture Podcast.
Want to confirm, is this an exercise? Roger, copy. This is not an exercise.
Come on, quick, get down! 1, 2, 3!
Welcome, everybody, to the Drop Culture Podcast. This is that podcast where we pick up that piece of pop culture you forgot about or missed, shine it up real nice, and cram it in your ear holes. I'm joined this week, like every week, with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brock Smith.
Sexual broccoli.
If you're
on
nasty.
the air. So,
Brock, this is our first movie after, starting season 4 here. So, we kicked off the whole thing 3 years ago, right? With the Peter Weller movie. We're coming back around,
now
son.
We're bringing it back.
That's right.
We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back for that run to 300 with Leviathan today.
Yes.
Fucking Leviathan rules.
A 1989 film, if you will.
Yes. A challenging movie of undersea terror.
Yes.
But yet, we don't get to see a lot of the sea.
Well, neither did they when they were filming it.
No.
Think of The Thing underwater.
Yes.
And you have this movie.
100%.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who is who, except for it doesn't have the same suspense as The Thing.
It definitely does not have. It doesn't even have
what is what.
Right, and it definitely doesn't have the same gravitas, I would even say, as The Thing. You know.
Mm-mm. That's one of the things of this movie that I really would have wanted to change, because with this one, it's basically they're underwater. They're an underwater mining crew.
Yes.
Which, is that a thing? I didn't even know fucking underwater mining was a thing.
Well, I'm sure. And then this was kind of a little in the future too. You could tell because all their
was it?
I think so, because they talked about how like all their houses are the same, and there were things that made me think that. And obviously, we didn't have any mining in 1989, especially. There was no mining facilities like that underwater for sure. Right. And I don't think we have those now, not to that extent. You know what I mean?
Honestly,
maybe we could.
Seems
I
like
wouldn't
it
know.
could happen.
Oh yeah, I mean, we 100% could right now. But I think in 1989 it definitely wasn't like that, and they definitely weren't wearing the helmets from 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Which these guys
2010.
were. No. Oh, was it?
2010. Yeah, I think it was 2010.
Gotcha. Either way.
That was their. Yeah, that was like their. With their test footage or something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was like football uniforms and the helmets from that movie.
Yeah. Which I thought really great idea, but it also, I don't know. I still think I still felt that it was something that was a real thing. And I was like, oh, well. Yeah, cool.
Hey, I could be way off.
That's what's really happening out there.
I don't think so, but I could be way off. They could have.
Yeah.
Who the
great
hell am
idea.
What do I know about underwater mining? Come on.
Right. Great idea, because I was just thinking of like Armageddon and shit. You know what I mean? When they were mining for shit, but yet they were oil. Yeah, they were doing oil and but they knew, you had Rockhound in it and shit or whatnot.
Yeah.
But anyway, it seems so real to me. It really does. But yeah, you do see kind of like the Weyland-Yutani kind of a vibe, with a lot of the iconography, I guess.
Yes.
A lot of the signs, a lot of the the way the computers worked was pretty advanced. Yeah. They were doing a lot of zoom ins on the fucking suits and shit like that. And they had these weird fucking, weird guns and shit, you know, like, come on, if they're in the future and they really were going down there, I think they would have surveyed the whole entire area for about 6 miles around before they dropped a fucking habitat down there. You know what I mean?
You would assume. And we'll get to that because there's a piece of this movie that I don't necessarily understand. It's not that I don't understand it, but I think that I thought there was more to it, and then it turns out there's not. And I think I understand it now, but at the time when I first watched this, I probably watched this in 1990 originally.
Yeah.
And I probably haven't seen it since 1992. You know what I mean? So, but that will.
Every time I see it, I do watch it. Every time, if I haven't watched it in, I don't know, 5 or 6 years or something like that, if I see it, I'm like, all right, cool, Leviathan, it's a cool movie. So it doesn't hold up as much, but it does have great effects.
I would say that this movie had two things going against it for me as just a casual viewer. One, I generally don't like movies that take place underwater. I don't know why.
Okay.
Even though I did watch that one with the Twilight girl in it fairly recently. Where she was
that
underwater.
One wasn't bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it called? Underwater?
Yeah, I don't know. But I generally just don't like movies. I don't like movies about boats either. I don't know why. It's just never appealed to me. The other thing is that when I think of this movie, I'm like, oh, I should watch The Thing.
Right.
Those are the two things where I'm like, okay. But again, it's not a bad movie. There's things that I really enjoy about this movie, and there's things where I'm like, oh, that was a choice.
Yeah. Well, the creature effects pretty cool. It was Stan Winston Studios, so of course there are multi-award-winning artists that did that shit back in the day. They still are. Stan Winston Studios is still going, even though he's passed. Didn't he pass almost 10 years ago? Or
it's been a while, yeah.
Fucking something crazy, yeah. Great effects. I could see where they got the I don't know, the way that everything moved and the differences with it, and even their practical, I would say, I don't know, skin changes and shit like that were pretty good. The basics were, if you can pull off the basics, basic prosthetics, basic creature makeup and stuff like that, you do that's excellent because it's believable at that point.
Well, and I do like the fact that the director, and who we'll get into in a minute, and Winston, they went through catalogs and catalogs of ocean life, and then basically made an amalgamation of that to make especially the final creature that we see, which is weird.
Yeah. There's certain things that you can really compare to The Thing, the isolation, the not knowing what the fuck is going on. Even some of the creature effects.
Yeah, the genetic side of the creature effects, I think, to some degree.
Yes.
When we have the two people that fuse together and start making, it makes me think very much of the dog scene from The Thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's and they also take over their personality, kind of.
Yeah, they kind of have their memories.
Their consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I that's where it ends, though.
Yeah.
That's where it ends.
Well, I mean there's I think the big difference is you have females in this one, where it was an all male driven cast the last time, so you didn't have to have which you did to some degree in this, but not so badly, the damsel in distress side, you know what I mean, or the love interest, but she was a pretty strong character in and of herself. I mean, she was going to go to astronaut school in 3 days, so
she was kind of,
she wasn't helpless.
No, exactly. She was kind of like the Ripley.
Yeah,
this.
Yeah,
so
a little
you
bit.
can kind of put, the Alien with The Thing together, and you got this.
Right.
In a pitch meeting, if you were to come in at that point and be like, all right, Alien mixed with The Thing underwater, they'd be like, fucking green light.
Let's
you
go.
Know what I mean?
Let's go. Oh, and you okay, hold on. And you made Cobra? Here you go. Here's money. Here's money.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoy the movie. There's a lot of aspects of it that are really cool. I think it is a little bit shorter than it could have been. And the intrigue, I mean, it really kind of goes really fast. As soon as the, I guess the page turns to where, you have them kind of get back to the deal after their big experience. They come back, boom. It's like 5 minutes later, this fucking thing is busting out of rooms and shit like that.
100%. I would say
things falling apart.
The other side of what I think ties it a little bit with The Thing is we get that character development right up front, of them being like in the compound, in the shack,
right,
and interacting. Kind of how we got like right away in The Thing. That's kind of what you get with those guys,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
that's what I was watching for on that too, because I did have that original, thought, oh, well, this is the thing, underwater. And then I was kind of looking at that character interaction, how they were kind of bringing it. There was less characters. So yeah, if they would have had more, they didn't need it.
I don't think they necessarily needed more characters, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like I would like to know more about like what the Doc's...
Peter Weller?
No, what the Doc's character
yeah.
did prior. Like, they mention it several times throughout the movie. Like, something happened, and it got blew out of proportion. But, like, then they bring it back up to him, and he's like, "Ooh, that did happen."
Yeah.
So I'm like, what happened? We don't know. Were they going to make a Leviathan prequel? Called Doc,
and it's Richard Crenna too. I mean, Richard Crenna is a badass because we know him from the Rambo series.
Colonel
he trained fucking Rambo, and everybody. I mean, he was just a fucking badass in those. And then whenever you kind of put him in this context where he's a very educated person that had an issue, but it wasn't like almost kind of like what happened in Alien 3 and shit like that. I'm just throwing comparisons out, where you have somebody that is very prolific and then makes a mistake and then it fucking ruins everything,
right.
But he did kill people on accident. So, well, rightfully so.
Right.
But then what I really enjoyed about this was the corporate aspect of it.
Yes.
Makes fucking total sense.
Yeah.
With Meg Foster, Meg Foster she's just on a different level of her own, and especially back then, just because of the way that she acted, her just everything, and not just because of the eyes,
Right. The eyes definitely were a defining trait of hers, though.
She was in. This is our third Meg Foster movie.
I think so.
Yeah, she's been in a lot of stuff that we've actually covered. They Live, for one.
Yeah, for sure.
But the corporate tie-in and how corporate greed kind of rules everything. That's a big thing that's always been around, and yet it's never not as impactful in a movie.
Agreed.
Every time they bring it up, every time they kind of base a little bit of this or a little bit of that on it, you're like, holy shit, that fucking makes sense. It's all about the bottom dollar. How, she found they didn't have any news of what was going on for them down there, but yet she looked up her stocks and it fucking said everything, you know? So it's kind of, it's just, you get to see that and that corporate greed thing, but then it's very misogynistic at the very end because Peter Weller fucking smacks her.
I don't know, dude. I might have punched her at that point. Like, you just killed a bunch of my friends, and like I fought monsters, and you were going to just leave me down there to die. Yeah, I might have punched her in the face too. We'll get further into that. She's still a person. So,
exactly.
Yeah. At the end of the day, my favorite thing with Meg Foster is how she just picked up that giant clicker remote to turn off the feed. I'm like, that's awesome. That thing's huge. In the future, everything will be giant.
That's the shit that they still have remote controls, yo.
Not just remote controls, but like 1981 remote controls.
Yes, they still had two TVs back in '88 underwater.
Right. Right.
In the future, they all have two TVs in the future.
I don't remember if it said a date at all. Now that makes me think.
It doesn't. No. So this, I guess, can be at any time, because you don't get to see the outside world. You get to see some technology, but you don't necessarily get to see
but I think you're right.
anything around.
But I think you're kind of right that maybe it's not supposed to be because, like, the helicopter at the end was normal. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Everything else was normal. So maybe it's not supposed to be. Maybe that's just given that is. And again, I'm not an oceanographer. Maybe they had that stuff back then, but I feel like probably not. 1,600 feet underwater.
Right. 2 miles down, but yet that helicopter too, right? The helicopter actually landed on the water.
Sure.
Kind of like a pontoon plane or whatnot.
Yeah.
Which...
That's a Coast Guard helicopter. That makes sense.
Yeah, if they were actually in the middle of the ocean, that shit would have fucking been turned over.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
It was so nice and calm, where they were at.
That's because they were in a 270-foot pool, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, they were on the Titanic stage before Titanic was shot there.
Right.
But yeah, it wasn't too overtly like manly, you know what I mean? But it did have good, strong characters, I think, except for maybe DeJesus.
I liked that guy just fine. Like, I think I like DeJesus because, like, as you get into his character, like, you can see his motivation to keep himself motivated to move forward. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And we'll get into that in the story, of course, but like when we go over the story, but that guy actually, what was his name? He passed away like the same year this came out.
Really?
Yeah. He died of heart failure it's like AIDS related heart failure.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't want to not say his name, so let me look that up real quick.
Is it Michael Carmine? He was in the movie Band of the Hand and Batteries Not Included. You definitely know this dude because I did watch Invasion USA the other day, and I'm trying to remember who he was in that.
Tonio. He was Tonio.
Tonio.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a good character actor.
Yeah.
He was
short. So he had a short career. Well, he started out on Hill Street Blues in like early 80s. I think is just like not like in just a couple episodes. But his movie career really only spanned from 85 to 89. Because I think he was 30 when he died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know what? When you bring up Hill Street Blues, it's like I want a Hill Street Blues poster in my room now. With the main dude with the fucking ski hat on, you know what I mean? Like the fucking, what do you call it? Serpico look.
Yes,
you know what I mean? But, okay. So I guess we can... if we pivot from Hill Street Blues, let's just get into the cast and creators of this movie.
Sure.
Let's start with George P. Cosmatos. I don't think I ever say that last name correctly.
I think that's not wrong. I mean, again, I'm not Italian or Greek because that name sounds really Greek to me, but I know he's from Italy and then moved to Canada.
Well, everybody knows Cosmatos because of Tombstone. If you know who he is, you paid attention for Tombstone because Tombstone is like one of the ultimate man movies of all time.
It's a great movie, dude. For sure,
great fucking movie. Everybody.
I would
loves
say
it.
that
it's a holiday movie.
I would also say that it has some of the Val Kilmer's performance in that is just so killer. You know what I mean?
Fucking iconic.
Yeah. So yeah, but I think you probably also for you and I, we also know this guy from Cobra.
Yes.
Which I know is one of your, top up there.
All-time favorites.
Yeah. Rambo First Blood Part 2, which, is what it is. Rambo takes on Vietnam.
Come on. Rambo First Blood Part 2 was fucking over the top.
Oh, 100%.
Death, killing, everything. And it was just so goddamn I mean, there's so many iconic scenes in that movie, you know, especially him blowing up people with a fucking bow and arrow, you know,
him popping out of the water with like 2 M60s, one in each arm. Pop, 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 pop. Sure, buddy. Sure, you're gonna hit anything.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely not my favorite First Blood movie, which is really First Blood. It's my favorite First Blood movie, and I kind of like Last Blood more than I liked Rambo 2.
Oh shit! I love the one that
or just Rambo.
Just Rambo.
Oh, that was good. That was
Rambo.
Good. Yep.
That movie was fucking bitchin'.
It was gnarly. It was great for sure.
Even though Rambo. Oh yeah, Rambo 3 or Rambo 2 was such an iconic movie at the time because it was over the top. It was Commando.
Not only that it was over the top,
version of Commando, you know.
Yeah, not only that it was over the top, but it was in the heyday kind of the Vietnam. You know, the guys back from Vietnam were of a certain age. You know, and the MIAs. I mean, well, we had a whole franchise turn it into that, and then you had the MIA. What was the Chuck Norris, right?
Oh, yeah. You always had the Invasion USA.
Not Invasion USA. No, the one where he goes back to Vietnam.
Yeah. Missing in Action.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. But you know what I'm saying? That was that was the time for those movies, you know?
Right. Exactly. And kind of in the mid 80s is where we hit that apex of fucking masculinity, fucking over the top shit.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? 88 kind of was slowing down. 89 because you had more people like Peter Weller.
Sure.
You know, that was it wasn't. I don't think he was a bona fide action star, but yeah, he was in some good sci-fi shit, especially RoboCop. I mean, which is iconic as fuck.
Buckaroo Banzai.
And then Buckaroo Banzai, of course. And then you got Cosmatos, right? That made the first, wasn't Cobra the first canon movie for that Sylvester Stallone made? I think.
Oh, that could be the case.
Yeah. And then, of course, the one thing that I want to really kind of put out there is he is the father of Panos Cosmatos, the director of Mandy.
Yeah.
I think one of the it was my top movie of the aughts, you know.
Yeah, it was a good movie for sure.
Up to 2020, yeah. And then, of course, if you watch, there's so many people that live by Doc Holliday in that fucking movie that he did. He was very good at framing his shots and showing you the action in a good way.
Agreed.
And yeah, there's just fucking so much of that shit. He did a lot of shit, really cool stuff.
Yeah, I would say he's the second best, maybe not even, but as far as people on this movie, like, because this has Alec Thompson on it, and that dude, he was the director of photography, I believe, and he's done everything from Legend, to Excalibur. You know what I mean? He's done those movies, and those movies were like cinematically awesome films, I think. Alien 3.
Yeah, beautiful movies.
Yep.
You know how I feel about Alien 3.
I mean,
I think it's just a beautiful movie. It's a great movie.
He did Demolition Man. Come on. Come on, son.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of movies before that, but those were the ones that came to mind. You know what I mean? Like when I think of like beautifully shot movies, obviously Excalibur was in 1981 was cinematically awesome. But Legend was another one, you know, where I'm like, that movie looked beautiful.
So did Labyrinth in a way.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
that he did Labyrinth, Raw Deal. I mean, he was a very, very, very big action dude, you know. He knew how to frame action.
Yeah.
Him and George or Cosmatos was really good at showing you that action, you know, really bringing it in there. And by reading what Stan Winston was saying is how they actually let the Stan Winston Studios direct Second Unit,
right?
Because they were like, hey, you know how the effects work, and you know, and George is like, oh, do whatever you need to do because you made this shit,
That's right.
Which is a really big deal, for a director to hand over the reins and say, I don't know what I'm doing at this point. You do it. Especially for somebody that's won Oscars and shit like that, which is, why wouldn't you take their advice,
Yeah. And Winston worked with Botten on The Thing.
Yes.
So it's strange that he's like, oh, this is going to be my thing. Like that's the way, and whether that was there or not, you know what I'm saying though.
Well, yeah. And one of the major creatures in The Thing was done by him, and then Bottin did all the rest of them, but the dog one was the one that everybody pretty much remembers, and are like, holy shit, that was fucking great,
Yep, absolutely.
Which this one, he had a team of people doing it, so it was really cool.
Absolutely. You want to jump into the actors?
Yes, let's get into that, because the producers are all De Laurentiis producers, but they're not your big ones.
Right.
I think they're your I don't know, second stringers for the De Laurentiis.
Right.
Because you had Dino, and then you had his daughter, I think, was another one of them. It was really, really big. These guys, not so much. Yeah, all Italian dudes. And of course, they would get Cosmatos.
Right.
But let's bring it into the cast here. You got Peter Weller, fucking RoboCop, Buckaroo Banzai, Dr. Peter Weller.
Dr. Peter Weller.
What else can you say about him? I mean, the dude's
he was the voice of
like
Batman in The Dark Knight Returns.
Right.
Which was kind of weird,
right?
He is a badass for sure.
Got a great voice. Very good screen presence. I mean, he I don't know. The character that he was playing in this he's Beck, right? Which Beck is he's a geologist that they brought in to kind of help them with this ore, because that's what they're doing down there, is getting like silver, gold, whatever.
Precious metals,
They're mining it from the ocean. Yeah. They're mining it from the ocean with their equipment, and they brought him in because he's a rock hound, Right. They knew what to look for.
But they put him in charge of all these, as he calls them, the cowboys.
Right. So it's just all these underwater geeks, that just work underwater. They're like underwater welders. So they make like a shitload of money in the grand scheme of things. So they're making, because they got quotas that they got to make and everything like that, right? And then, of course, you got Richard Crenna, which he doesn't really show up until kind of a little bit after the very first. They don't really introduce everybody.
Well,
until they're in the lunchroom.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't really meet him. He's introduced through a letter that says the doc is out.
Right.
Whatever.
Which is fucking weird. What the fuck is he doing?
Well,
they don't really ever allude to that. Maybe he was sleeping. I don't know.
He says something about he'll try to get his 9 in before or something.
I'll only do 9 today. 9 holes today. Okay. But then you have Daniel Stern. Daniel Stern, of course, as Marv from Home Alone. Yep. He City Slickers, he was really, really big in that late 80s period, and he's still kind of been in a ton of stuff here recently. He's on a lot of TV shows and stuff like that, but him. Yeah, everybody does. Just know that nose and that attitude, which he was a real misogynistic prick in this movie.
Yes.
He's an asshole. Now, you can't say too much about Ernie Hudson because he's fucking Ernie Hudson. I mean, the dude's a badass.
I know. And when I started watching it, I was like, I fucking forgot Ernie Hudson's in this movie.
Yes. And he's great.
All of
his lines are good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that he does is really, really good in this movie, which I think is awesome. Which there's not that much else to say because he's Ernie Hudson.
There's a great scene, fairly emotional scene, probably the one and only, which is between him and the we just mentioned him earlier, the first guy we were talking about, the guy that passed away, De Jesus.
Oh yeah,
De
Jesus.
That scene is actually pretty good. Like, it's well acted, I thought.
Yeah.
Because it's not really known as a emotional movie, I guess. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, Ernie Hudson, though, from what I've read, about him in his life is he really did start off being more of a playwright.
Sure.
And he was more of a writer before everything else. And then he got, his masters and doctorates and different things like that. Then tried acting for a little bit and then kind of got disenfranchised with it. It was like, fuck this, fuck Hollywood. And it wasn't until he got a couple of really big roles that he decided to stick with it.
Like
now look at the dude.
Ghostbusters?
The dude is and the dude is a total philanthropic kind of a guy. Isn't he a guy that kind of like is, hey, if you got something that you do creatively, I'm going to promote it. The guy's just a good person.
Sure.
Which I really respect the hell out of him for that.
Yeah, big fan.
Well, then we go through to where Amanda Pays. I mean, you've seen her in that, but not. She's not as big as the rest of the guys,
No,
you would think that she would have done a.
Isn't she married to Corbin Burnson though?
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
Corbin Burnson.
Yes.
She was on Max Headroom.
Yep.
She
was on the 90s
married.
Flash, right?
Yeah, she is married to Corbin Burnson. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
Not that that's what she's known for, but yeah. But she hasn't done a ton of movies. She did a lot of television, I felt like.
Amanda Pays, yeah. She was in a lot of, what was that fucking show? The X-Files.
Yeah.
As of researching, I was like, huh, really? I didn't watch too much of the X-Files. Maybe I need to. Classic show.
Yeah, it was a good show.
And then you also got Michael Carmine. That dude's been in so many different things too. Isn't that that's the De Jesus dude?
Yeah.
I was thinking Hector Elizondo.
Yeah, that guy's been in a lot.
Hector Elizondo. Yes. He's a very good character actor. Like, I don't know. Let me see. Beverly Hills Cop, though. We got 2 Beverly Hills Cops characters in this one. We got him, and then we got the last person on this. But yeah, he's done a lot of different stuff. You know him, and he's just a very, very good, like, how do you say? I don't know, character actor. I guess.
I was going to say that's exactly what you said, and that you're absolutely right. He's a good character actor, and he's been in a ton of movies, all of which you've probably seen at one time or another. You've seen him in something because he's covered a good smattering of films.
If you remember the Jackie Gleason show in 1969, he was on the episode called "The Honeymooners Mexican Hat Trick." So, come on,
totally.
everybody knows him.
How could I not know that? What the fuck?
Right. So then he also got.
He also voiced
Lisa
a lot of.
Marie.
He's voiced a lot of characters in comic book based animation.
Like Batman.
He was the Commissioner Gordon
in the Batwoman.
Well, he was Commissioner Gordon in Lego Batman. But he was also on the whole that Star-Crossed from Justice League. He was Lieutenant Krager in that, and in Justice League Unlimited. Yeah, so he's done a lot of voice stuff as well.
Oh, that's crazy.
Anyways, on from that guy.
The last one is the other Beverly Hills Cop alumni, which is Lisa Marie Elbacher. Whatever.
I don't know.
Elbacher. She really hasn't done a lot of stuff.
No.
She really didn't. She's retired now, but she retired in '96, which is kind of crazy.
But she was in the original. The original Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah. Beverly Hills Cop.
She was in An Officer and a Gentleman. Jeez. Come on, guy.
I don't think I've ever watched that.
You'll need a couple hours of your life back.
I don't want to waste it. Like Chariots of Fire. Like, what the fuck? Why?
It's not quite that bad. Holy shit, dude. She was on Gunsmoke. All right, I'm out of here. Roll on.
Go look that one up. Gotta go look that one up. So basically, that's your principal cast.
Yeah,
right
that's pretty much everybody.
These guys, and it's a very good cast, which is great because most of these people are well-established actors. So you're not getting a lot of, I mean, maybe besides DeJesus, you're not really getting really low-level names. You're getting really big names. Richard Crenna, I mean, come on. Peter Weller, really big. Ernie Hudson, Daniel Stern. There's a lot of people in this movie that are great.
Yep.
And I mean, they had a budget of $19 million for this movie. So what does that say for it? You know, $19 million for an underwater movie? Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's film everything inside. Even though they're underwater.
Yeah, I know this came out in 89, but let's say they even started filming in 88, late 87. That's still not very much money. You know?
Yeah. No. But this was the summer of underwater blockbusters too.
What is it? Deep Impact or no?
No. Deep Star 6.
Yeah.
The Abyss.
Oh yeah.
Fuck, what else? There's so many different ones. They were all like The Rift or something like that. Just some weird movies like that. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes Hollywood's a one-trick.
Well, of course. Well, one person gets an idea and they're like, "Holy fuck!" Our spies say that they're making an underwater monster movie. Let's do it too. You know, and then every movie studio comes up. Yeah, we're gonna do it better than they are, and it sucks. And then you have who did the effects for fucking... Was it Stan Winston that did the effects for The Abyss? I think. That's crazy.
I'll look it up. You keep rolling.
Yeah. So let's just... The impetus of the movie, everything like that, is they're underwater mining people. If they go down and they're talking about tons of ore that they get, right? So you really only know just kind of like the surface, and the very first part of it they really get into this kind of like, my rebreather's messed up, so DeJesus is like, his eyes are crossing and shit like that, right? They're underwater. You kind of get to see the immediate character of the characters kind of from to begin with. You know, you have the people that are helping out, and then you got somebody like Six Pack, which is fucking Daniel Stern. What a shitty name. It's like, come on, Six Pack.
He reminds me of like half the dudes that I was in the army with, though, to some degree.
Yeah.
For real.
All about pussy.
Well, and again, I feel like that's what a lot of those, like The Thing, this, to some extent, like they hit the archetypes of people you meet in those kind of situations. You know what I mean? It takes a certain level of person, I'm sure, to want to go down 2 miles underneath the water and, you know, dig for stuff.
And they were going to be down there for what, 90 days or something like that?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And they were on their 87th day whenever the shit goes down, right? So they're in there, they're kind of doing their thing. You know, Bex, which is Peter Weller, he's the leader. He's kind of communicating back and forth with Meg Foster, which she is the main...
She's the
corporate
stoolie.
Yeah. Yeah, corporate stooge, you know. They're in this very volatile situation that they're down there looking for ore everywhere. And you get to see those characters kind of develop at that point. And the doctor's he's like, whatever, I'm fucking drinking. Whatever he's doing, right? Six Pack's a dick. You got the mom down there that's just like, hey, I'm here for my kids. Can't wait to get home. You got Hector Elizondo that's like, fucking, I don't want to go home to my fat wife or whatnot. I'm like, holy shit.
She's not going to believe me if I got herpes down here.
Yeah, what do I got herpes?
And then you
and what's crazy is...
Go ahead.
No, go for it.
Oh, I was going to mention that we also had, Willie, and she was training to be an astronaut. So so again, that's another archetype of that person that wants to achieve something. You know what I mean? Very much like in the military, you have those people that they're there to push their life forward. You know what I mean? And they're buying in and moving on, moving up. And then you have people like Six Pack, who's like, environments. Yeah. And then you have people like Six Pack, who's just crazy enough to do it. You know what I mean? And is very he's a rough stereotypical, you know?
Yeah, he's the guy running the fucking oil rig.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
100%.
He's that guy. He's just a worker, and he just fucking loves to fuck around. You know what I mean?
You got Jones.
So you kind of get that. Yeah, you kind of get that stuff all together in that first meeting. You get to see them kind of talk shit about Beck, Peter Weller. You know, they're like, they don't respect him. They don't think he's fucking doing what
they keep calling him Becky.
Doing. Yeah, they call him Becky, but yet they've been down there for almost 90 fucking days and they've had no conflicts yet, except for like this last bit. Kind of unbelievable. In a way, because you know the first week somebody'd be pissed off.
Well,
and say something stupid. But Beck is a really cool dude, and he kind of gives them the day off, you know, for regular maintenance before they got to go. Well, and they still got to make their quota.
Before that, we have the decompression scene, like where Jesus almost dies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
Well, and that's before they get into the mess hall or whatnot.
Yeah,
you know, and Beck actually makes a decision, which does help. They get him up there, you know. The doc's non-present, you know, and then that's where they're all talking shit about Beck. Right. Like, fucking dude can't even keep Doc in control, you know. Ernie Hudson's the one's giving the most shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking care of it.
Yeah, thanks, douche, you know. And of course, they're part of a union, and Hector Elizondo is the union steward. They kind of bring that up quite a bit.
You're right.
Kind of like I guess they would in space and shit like that if you're part of a union.
They're all about citing things for sure, all of them.
Right. So they go into their like regular maintenance kind of a situation to where they're kind of fixing the shack underwater. You know, all things are. Everything needs maintenance. So you got all these different things you got to learn, you know, to keep everything going. He gives them the day off to do all that stuff, and they're like, "Oh, okay, cool." But then, of course, Six Pack has to be a douchebag and play a stupid trick on whatever her name is, Amanda Pace.
Williams.
Willie. Yeah, so he puts like a sea spider in there.
Yeah, like in one of the suits that she's working on.
Yeah,
like his suit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Conveniently number 6, actually.
Yeah. So she eventually kills him, and that kind of puts...
kills the spider.
She's like, yeah.
Okay.
And, of course, he's like, ha, 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 you know, I got you. Well, come to find out, she gets him back and puts it in his bed. And he's like, come on and sit on my face, baby.
He's got, like nudie pictures up in his little... cube. He goes and grabs a magazine like right in front of everybody, and like they all know what he's going to do, and he's not sad about it.
Yeah, no, not at all. He's like, I'm gonna go wanking in my bunk. He can't come in,
right?
You know, or he's like inviting all the women. He's like, you can come in, you know, fucking douche.
Right.
So she basically puts the dead sea spider in underneath his pillow. He freaks the fuck out, comes in there, and he's like raging like mad, right? She wasn't raging mad, even though he did it first. He's like, look at my foot, and he just bumped into something, you know, I mean, fucking pussy.
Maybe that's what causes stuff later.
Or should I say dick? Yeah. So it causes them to actually have to go out the next day, because this is their third day, or this is day number 3 before they have to go back. So on the next day, they decide, okay, Beck says, guess what? You guys are going out for duty, you know, tomorrow. Well, they're like, fuck. Well, they go out and they're kind of doing their thing, and then all of a sudden, Six Pack he disappears because they actually blow into like some sort of a I don't know, like an ore, you know, like a mother lode type of a deal. Yeah, they got all this stuff, and he falls, disappears for about a good, I don't know, 10 minutes before she finds him, because she ends up down at the bottom or over some ridge where it's just full of these tube worms, right? She gets past that part of it, and there's a fucking ship. She sees it, and it's the Leviathan ship, right?
In Russian.
So like, huh. So they all start looking it up, and they're like, oh, well, it's supposed to be in the Baltic Sea. Well, that's not real, you know? And Doc can read, he knows all these different languages, but he can read Russian.
Right. But does he know all those different languages? Because you don't know. It's like, would you believe my mom was Russian?
Yeah.
My grandma, or whatever he says?
He's like, I guess, you know? So we come to find out, I mean, they're getting low on oxygen because they only have about 30 minutes worth of oxygen on their own in that suit, which is kind of weird because do they have to go in every time to get more oxygen or some shit like that? Or was he asking about how long they had left? You know?
Yeah, that's what I thought that he was asking, how much was left. And then she said like, what, 15 minutes or something like that? 20 minutes? 30
minutes, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay, whatever it was, because he's like, I'll give you 5 to go find him, and you need to start heading back. And I could see why, because it takes them a long time to get anywhere. Those suits are slow as hell.
Yeah, they have to
you're under a lot of pressure.
Walk like they're on the moon.
You know?
Yeah. You're under a lot of pressure at the 2 miles down.
Yeah,
you know, at the bottom of the ocean. So she ends up finding him, and he's basically got like a treasure. He's got a fucking safe in his hands. He's like, whoa, I'm going to be rich, yo. So they get back, right? After, Six Pack basically was just a douche move and just went exploring on his own. You know what I mean? He shouldn't have. Against the rules. Could have potentially got Homegirl killed too.
Yeah.
So they get back there and they open the safe and they're going through all these personal effects. And he's like, Doc, what does this say? And he's like, deceased. They're going through all these different files of personal effects that these people are all deceased, right?
Right.
Ernie Hudson finds the VHS of the captain's log.
And that's how we know it's not in the future.
Exactly. It's still a fucking VHS. Maybe they use them in the future. I don't know. Maybe it was Beta. We don't know.
Alternate future. Beta takes over.
Well, Beta's used by, I think, most television studios. I think.
Yeah.
Or at least they used to. Probably everything's digital now. Yeah. It's all memory card now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In the
25 years ago. But so they start watching the tape, and of course, before that, they find a bottle of vodka, and they're like, "Oh shit, this is the good stuff, right?" And they're like, "All right." But Six Pack sees a little bitty flask that he puts in his back pocket, but yet Homegirl on the other side sees it, and she's like, "Huh, you know what?" So it doesn't go unnoticed, right?
Right.
So she knows it's there. And so, of course,
that's Bowman,
Beck's like,
right?
give me that vodka.
Not Willie.
Yeah, Bowman, yeah. And Beck's like, no, if you take this, then you're 2 counts of insubordination or some shit, for pilfering or something like that. It's fucking weird. It's like, okay. So of course, he gets away with that part of it, but we don't really know what's going on with it. Next scene is they're in there. Homegirl, Bowman actually gets Peter Weller's records, and he uses his social security number for the safe combination.
Right.
They get in there to get the vodka. They bring it all in. They think they're being fucking smart and awesome and shit, right? They put all the vodka into like a blood bag or whatnot. So they take a drink and they're like, it's fucking water. God damn it. So, and of course, what's her name? The astronaut chick.
Willie.
She's running
Williams.
around. Yeah, Willie. She's kind of going, she's still training and she doesn't partake. And, there's like some sort of a love affair sparking, He's like, you didn't put Six Pack out there for punishment because of me. And he's like, well, maybe. She's like, okay. So, ooh, boy, so, yeah, they're kind of, he's trying to do his thing, and he's like, Doc, man, you need to keep your shit up. Fucking don't make me look like an ass again. And, so they start watching that video, and the video showing, it kind of ends abruptly in a weird way, and the basically, Richard Crenna is basically telling them how, like, everybody's changed. They're all taking on these weird different characteristics and stuff like that, and then it's done. So they don't really know what else is on there. So, next thing comes up after they all get busted with that shit. Bowman goes to, I wouldn't have opened the door that fast to fucking Six Pack's little bunk. He could have been beating it fiercely. You know what I mean?
Mid-swipe.
But she's like, did I ever? Yes. And she's like, did I tell you vodka's my favorite drink? So they drink.
Right.
Cool. You don't really see much after that. Next day, wake up.
Well, is this
they're
like
kind of going to go out.
Before that, don't they check that boat when they're watching the video, and that's where they find out that it's supposedly in the Baltic Sea active?
Well, they were doing that while they were on it.
Oh, okay.
Bowman already looked it up, and and they were saying maybe it's a clerical error, blah blah blah, right? So next day, Six-Pack he's in the infirmary, and Doc's like, oh, it looks like he's got a bad case of the hangover. He's like, this ain't no fucking hangover, Doc. He's all cold and shaking and shit, right? So they kind of get a little bit more into that, and he's got all this weird scaly skin. Beck has to go out and help them make their quota.
Right.
So they do get back.
And that's kind of where he gains the respect of the team there. Yeah.
Correct. He does get more respect from Ernie Hudson, the one person that
matters.
He needs the most respect from. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and of course and it's weird because like he's growing scales. He's turning into a fish-like kind of a creature, which is weird. But while they're out that full 8 hours or however long their workday was, Six-Pack actually dies.
Right.
So, I mean, he's like, hey, we're not going to spook anybody, but let's start checking people. See, and we'll just tell them it's like some weird skin rash or some shit like that. So they go through everybody, right? And then the very last person is Bowman. She's waiting outside, but she's feeling sick too. So she goes in there. Everybody's like, oh, everything's cool. Come to find out, she is actually, because you can see the actual scales on the side of her neck when she's laying down, and she's telling whatever her name is. God, I can't remember her name.
Willie?
Willie to stay with her. She's scared, you know?
Right.
So, of course, shit goes to hell because Ernie Hudson dropped, because you know that Six-Pack's dead, but Ernie Hudson goes in there and is like, hey, man, you know, you left us all fucking high and dry. And, of course, the leg moves, but it's not really Six-Pack, you know? It's something else, you know?
He's like, oh, I'll let you sleep. Sorry.
Sorry, dude. So they go look for Doc and everything like that, but then of course, Bowman somehow gets entwined with him.
Yeah, so Bowman was waiting to see the doctor when he walked out, and then he never really saw her, and then she saw her hair was coming out, and then she walks in to, like, because there's nobody around, and she's talking to Six-Pack, even though she can't see him, you know, because he's under the sheet or whatever. And then the next thing you know, that's where we find them, right? Later, because first we find her in the shower.
Yes,
with her wrist cut.
Because she sees what's happening to Six-Pack. She's like, fuck this, right?
Takes herself out.
So she goes into the shower. She slits her wrist because she doesn't, which is very, very fast. She's like, I don't want to become that shit. Fucking gonna go into the hot shower and slit my wrist. So she's gone. You know? So at that point, everybody's freaking out. They finally find out that Six-Pack's dead. Peter Weller and Richard Crenna go in there to look at the bodies, and Six-Pack's still moving and all fucking weird and shit.
When they take her and put her into that same room on another bed, that's the part where I'm thinking, like, this dude's a doctor, and he put on gloves to examine them, but he doesn't give a shit about touching anything else. Like, he's like, blood, scales, slime? Oh, cool. You know what I mean?
And he puts them both in a body bag. Yeah.
Well, that's
one big body bag.
Yeah. As you do.
Yeah, so everybody's freaking out. Like, you can't do this. This is against regulations. We're not supposed to put anybody in one of these things. They're like, no, now. And then DeJesus is like, somebody's moving in here. And they're like, fucking stop. Let's go. Let's put them in there. They all drop it. And then they open up the side. Somehow it gets ripped, and he sees Bowman. And she's all fucked up, right?
Right.
So they eventually get the thing out of the water locker.
Cobb gets, like, across his chest before that, right?
He gets a slash right across his chest, right? At that point, everybody else is safe. If they would have gotten that one out, they would have been safe to go. But no, they had to fucking fuck around, you know, and not listen to orders,
right?
Because they didn't respect Beck.
Yeah.
So Hector Alonzo gets gets slashed or whatnot, and then the creature like sticks one of its limbs out, and it gets crushed and cut. So it ends up in like pretty much like whatever their water supply is or whatever the fuck that is.
So,
and it's just a foot swimming, by itself. It's fucking weird. And you can see the toes and shit. So they're all freaking out, They're
so that's when they start going back through everything, right? They start going through six-pack stuff, right?
Yes.
Because that's where they find
and they're also
the flask.
Yes, and they also look at the footage that they had to show the big long fingers of the person, and the elongated skull and everything like that. They're like, "This is fucked up."
Oh, you're talking about the Doc and Peter Weller.
And they actually do talk to the company. Mm-hmm. They call her up and they're like, "Yo, we might need to do this." And she's like, "Hey, you might need to think about this." And he's like, "Motherfucker," you know what I mean?
Well, total corporate. Stellar.
So she knows what the fuck is going on. Yeah, she knows what's going on already. The company does because they know about the Leviathan and probably what they were doing on there, everything like that, right? So you already got two people. You got one dude that's all fucked up, right? And then you got DeJesus and Jones, which are all, of course, he's like, "I'm going to go get something to eat," because he's talking about skiing and shit like that, right? He's like, "Man, you don't ski. You're not going to go skiing."
They don't ski in Spanish Harlem.
Yeah. He
flips over his puzzle. Jeez.
Yeah, no.
Asshole.
It took him a long time to do it.
Like it kept getting longer. It was like, took me 8,000 hours, whatever.
Yeah. He's like, whatever.
I'm like, not very good at puzzles, obviously.
Yeah. So he's looking for butter for the popcorn, right? And one of the pieces come out and just fucking attacks him in the chest and starts eating inside of his body. This is a real reaction. Like, how would you react if you saw somebody with something like that going into somebody's chest and like going around, and he's like, "Dude, hold on, I'm gonna go get some help."
But he's like, obviously,
I'm gonna go get some help.
Yeah, but he's obviously like emotional about it too, and that's some of the best acting in the movie, I think, actually.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I mean, he does
especially
he does a really
since
good
he's
job.
doing it to special effects. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's total genuine where he's like, "Fuck, this is fucked up."
Right.
So he runs and gets a doc. He's like, "It's got DeJesus, blah blah blah." And I think at close to this point too, what is it? Hector Elizondo is walking through, and he's like, "Hey, watch that door! Don't let anybody
he seals
out."
That door.
And he's like, yeah." So of course they come back, and the door's fucking shredded, and Home Dude's coming back with like a fucking bandsaw or whatnot. Like a
it's like, you think I was going to watch it without packing some heat?
Yeah, he's like, "Fuck that! No, this thing's like crazy." So of course they're all like freaking out. They're kind of going through everything, and then of course I think it gets to the point where Home Dude is having problems with his chest, and he's like, "What the fuck?" Right? It's like, "This fucking hurts. It's
like it
itching,
itches, yeah.
everything." And then he's going through the same symptoms as the other ones did. And then that's whenever he's like, "Whoa, something's going on." And fucking what? God damn it, Willie or whatnot.
Willie. That's her last name is Williams. Like, they just call her Willie.
Yeah, she's like, "Doc, you need to look at this shit." And he's like, dude stands up and turns around, and his fucking shirt's all moving back and forth.
All
and
alien
shit.
style.
And he has an alien moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, Richard Crenna is like, "What the fuck," right? Because he does mention maybe that they scuttled this thing because they didn't want what was in it to get out.
Well, yeah, and I think we should expand on that a little bit too, because they've already made those comments. One about scuttling their own ship, so it wouldn't get back out, whether that's for them or for humanity at that point.
Yeah.
But then they also talk about how they were performing experiments on their own people. You know what I mean? Through the vodka that you mentioned earlier. So
yep.
Yeah.
That's how they administered it.
Right.
And they didn't know the effects of it, so they just kind of...
I
was thinking about that too. How would they do that? They'd bring them into a room and be like, "Das Vidanya."
Yeah.
Don't drink this shit, you know?
When he was first on the computer, like when he first, all this started happening, and I was like, this is like the updated computer from the Thing, the Chess Master, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And then I realized at some point that he was actually on some sort of communication talking to someone else, because he was like, take a guess. And I'm like, is he just asked the computer to take a guess? And then they're like, genetic modification, right?
Yeah, unknown origin, genetic modification. I was like, what the fuck?
Genetic alteration. So he's already, is what they use.
Yeah. So he's already kind of like in on the joke, per se. Yeah. You know what I mean? He already knows what's fucking happening.
Yep.
He knows what he has to do at one point too, because everybody starts dying. So he sends a message to him, basically saying, "Okay, you know, we're basically don't come get us. You know, we're all fucked." So of course nobody else wants that shit.
He jettisons the escape pods.
The pods. Yeah, the pods were the ones that they were going to jump into and just go up. But they're under the impression that a hurricane is coming their way.
Yeah, because that's what the corporate lady tells them.
Yeah, but yet they show Ernie Hudson at the very beginning, kind of looking at like no waves.
Yeah.
So he knows.
But
so that's when they
changed,
discover.
You know?
Yeah. And that's when they discovered that all of the weather data is kind of suppressed, everything's suppressed. And then, you know, of course, Willie's like, "Yo, let me check my stocks." And then they see that they lost, you know, 7 miners or some shit like that.
Yeah, and it's lists all of their names. And I kind of thought it was fun because when we get to the end of this, you'll notice that I think that they listed the first 2 names were the people that survive.
Oh, for real?
Pretty sure.
Yeah. Which is kind of crazy.
Right. And I could be wrong, but I think that's correct.
It probably is Bowman or no, not Bowman.
Oh, we can't talk about it yet. We're not there yet. Come on.
Yeah. So of course now we're in that alien phase of the movie where they're trying to destroy the Thing, or the monster, but yet the monster's causing havoc everywhere.
But it's specifically it's going after blood and plasma.
Yes, because it goes in there, and then of course the doc's like, "Yo, you need to step away for a second. I need to go get something," and that's when he sends the message and everything like that, right? And he gets fucking. When does he get whacked?
I think it's right around there, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like whenever.
They're doing their big trick with the blood, spraying the blood down.
Yes.
To get them to the swamp, what they call the swamp, which is like where they go out into the ocean.
They want to flush that one out too.
Right. Which is their intention. And then I think all that's kind of happening simultaneously because it's just him and Ernie Hudson's character, right? That are doing this plan, and Willie and what's his name?
The Doc
and Cap, whatever his last name was.
That's when Cobb starts to have the fucking that's where he starts to have the fucking
heart flutters. Yeah.
He's
got some flutters in his chest.
Yeah, and well, he grabs a Doc with his hand, fucking mutant. You know what I mean?
Right.
They have the mouth coming out of the hand and shit like that, so he grabs the Doc and he gets him,
that's right. That's where we first see that hand shot.
Yeah, so then you get to the Thing is fucking around with their air supply and everything like that. So like, oh well, we got to find it and we got to kill it, but there's like million or hundreds of miles of freaking blah 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 in this whole thing, so we got to figure this out, right? So they go down to where Cobb put the gum in there and shit like that, you know.
Right.
And because the Doc actually ends up going down there too, you know, and he's like dying up against it. And so they're squirting the blood and everything like that. But then you hear Willie scream, and they all get up and they go after it. But they have all these tools, and the one thing that kind of got me is they had fucking hedge trimmers down there. You know what I'm saying? Cordless fucking hedge trimmers. to take on this fucking beast, right?
Those were pretty intense flamethrowers.
They got 2 flamethrowers. Yeah, they had some pretty badass flamethrowers with like joysticks on them and stuff.
Yeah.
Like fucking like video game joysticks, you know. It was pretty fucking awesome, right? So yeah, so they're going to go fight that thing, and all of a sudden shit's just falling apart because the thing is really fucking everything up and is about to cause an implosion, you know, underneath it. Right. So it's kind of like purging all this air and shit like that. So Ernie Hudson has the idea. He's like, hey, let's go here because this has another valve that I can turn off and we'll be good, right? We can stay there. The whole time they were under the impression within 12 hours of their pickup, they were going to get picked up. Right. So then, you know, Meg Foster comes on right before they kind of go, they're like, hey, let's fucking get the fuck out of here. That she's like, hey, it's going to be another 48 hours. The storm made a turn. And they're like, fuck you, you know?
Yeah. And that's where they start getting pretty straight up with her, because the interaction before that, after Bowman died, I like when he has that conversation and he's talking to Doc and he's like, yeah, I didn't tell him that another person died, which is smart. Because if you're trying to get out of there, that's probably the best thing you can do. You know what I mean? Because once that starts happening, then you're screwed.
Yeah, he even says something like, I stopped listening when I figured out she was full of shit.
Yeah.
You know? Because she's obviously lying. And, you know, Richard Crenna is like, hey, you know, we got to get rid of this. But they're down there, right? They're trying to find that thing. And Ernie Hudson sees the Doc's face, right? That's actually melded with the other fucking creature, you know? He's like, I saw the Doc. So they get up. They're trying to go back to the swamp, right? They're like, we got to get to the suits. We got to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they finally, homegirl, she almost falls down. The little lumbering fucking fish thing kind of coming after them. Beck saves her. They get actually to where they need to go, right? They're getting in the suits. Beck's trying to get his ready. Boom. Home dude, monster shows up. And he's like, fucking go. So he puts them down. He's like, yo, you're free. Go, get out of here.
Yeah,
you know, they're like, no. How we
getting out of here? And he's like, gives them the, like, I don't know what those are, some sort of pressurized gas, oxygen.
And the balloons,
balloons,
They were going to put the balloons and overinflate them to shoot them up to the surface.
Right.
I always thought that if you went to the surface too fast,
you're 100%.
You're gonna fucking get the bins.
That you would,
you're gonna fuck yourself up.
But maybe those are decompression suits of some sort. You know, obviously, I think their technology was a little more advanced than what we actually had, in, that time or now, for the most part.
Yeah, well, they finally get into it.
It's obviously sci-fi because I know we haven't explored all of the bottom of the ocean yet. You know what I mean? Nope. And there's no way they had stuff like that 2 miles down, and we're
2 miles down, and they got a balloon to take them up.
Yeah,
fuck that. Yeah,
you better have.
It takes like hours to go 2 miles. Yeah, they got to go really slow, and they got to compress.
You'd be screwed. You're absolutely right. You know.
Yeah. Well, he has the idea to bring them up, so he eventually gets away, and he's like, all right, we made it. So then they show him floating all the way up to the top really fast. They show the little deals that say decompression. So they finally they drop the suit, they get shot straight up. They're so close to the fucking top, you know, and they're all like, they finally get up to the top. Ernie Hudson's like, no waves, man, no waves, you know. All of a sudden, fucking sharks show up. Yeah. And even Ernie Hudson's like, he's like, this is a fucking bad day, man. You know? And, of course, the Coast Guard actually does kind of they're flying through, they're about to turn back to base, and he shoots off a flare. Perfect. Cool. So they come down. They're actually landing on the water. They get Willie, right? But then that's when the fucking Leviathan pops up out of the water. Is like, you know, and fucking goes after him, right?
Big fish monster.
Ernie Hudson's like, no, I'm gonna sacrifice myself for you guys. Just go. So, of course, Willie's on there, and Beck's like, give me a second. He runs over there, and he arms one of their charges. He's like, say, motherfucker! And he throws the shit right in his fucking mouth. It is like the cheesiest part of the whole fucking movie. explodes the thing. Even the Coast Guard helicopter pilot's like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they pull him off to safety, right? So they live. You thought Ernie Hudson was going to live. Everybody was going to be cool, right? But it's only them. So they get back to like some oil tanker or oil barge or whatever the fuck platform.
Yeah. Some sort of platform.
So they head back, and then of course Meg Foster's like, "Oh my god, thank God you made it," and he's like, smack."
She's like, "I knew you guys would make it."
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
And he fucking knocks Evelyn out like Skeletor would. You know what I mean? For not bringing him his Havoc staff.
Yeah, right.
But that's it.
That's the movie.
That's the fucking movie. You know, it's a crazy movie with a lot of good aspects, but I think it was condensed too much.
Yeah.
The one thing that I would have done different in this whole movie is I would have gotten rid of most of the music.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care one way or the other about the music so much, I guess. It was all composition. You know? Yeah,
music will put me into a movie, and it'll also take me out of a movie. But if it's more of this, you know, I'm like, does it really need that shit? Do we need that high tension music? Jerry Goldsmith is awesome, but at the same time, tone it down. It's supposed to be more about what the fuck is going on around them. The thing had cool music.
I don't know that this necessarily, like maybe a little bit longer. I don't think it needed to be much longer. It was an hour and 43 minutes. I'm not saying
2.5 hours. No.
Yeah. But I think it just needed to be, and again, I don't make movies. I watch a lot of movies. I'm not a director, but I play one on TV. But I think it just needed to have different focuses. You know what I mean? I thought that some of the things they hung on a little too long. Though I do think they packed a lot in that, that time frame. You know?
Yes. But why I think it was a little rushed, because they packed so much into it.
And I don't think they should have taken... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, it just took it was very fast.
Yeah. Well, I think that a lot of that had to do with, there was really a lot of time spent in the beginning on character building, which isn't a bad thing.
No,
but it just should have, it could have been done a little bit differently and made it just a tighter film.
Yep.
You know?
That was really it. You know, other than that though, I mean, it was a really good movie. Peter Weller makes these movies that are really good. Or he stars in these movies that are really, really good, but like Screamers and things like that, you know?
Yeah.
Cool movies, great concepts, but just like it seems like their execution just is not 100% like his execution. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah.
But that was Leviathan. Leviathan,
come out and play.
1989.
1989's Leviathan. So what would you rate this movie, Brock?
Personally, 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair, actually. I think I'll go right along with that. I enjoyed it. It really got super bad reviews on all the review, Metacritic, Rotten Tomatoes, all those things. But I don't care about those things anyways.
No, this is a definition of a cult classic.
Yeah, this is a movie of its time, for sure. You know?
Oh yeah. Definitely, 100%. I like that it's ambiguous to time, which is really cool. So you don't really know what time period it's in. You do have good characters. You have strong action, good actors.
Yeah.
But again, it's just like there's something missing with this movie. Really good movies are good no matter what, but they have something extra that the other good movies have to make it great.
So,
you know?
So can I tell you what I think that it is? And don't kill the messenger. But I don't think this was the right director for this movie.
Oh no, I completely understand.
Yeah.
No, I totally 100%. It was a great action movie in that sense, but when it came down to the sci-fi and it came down to the, just the sci-fi, just not really his ballpark.
Yeah, it wasn't super strong, in my opinion. What the hell again?
Yeah.
He
comes from playing on a polo field, playing baseball on the polo fields, when most people could really play in a regular stadium with this movie and knock it out of there. You know what I mean? The polo grounds have a fucking huge center field.
Well, and you got to considering the source, you know what I mean? Like, Peoples, one of the writers on this, there were 2 writers. He was one of the writers on Blade Runner. He was one of the writers on 12 Monkeys, Soldier, so he has sci-fi locked down. So that's why I think it's the director and not so much anything else. Normally it's hard to pin down, where that went wrong, but it just seems like everybody else is on point.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I agree with you 100% on that part of it. I really do. I really think that, if it was a different director for it, cool.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like
if you had a Scott Ridley or, somebody that was, and not that you would want that same person, but you know what I mean? Somebody in that vein.
Mm-hmm. You need somebody that
like
can
Kirk Cameron
really kind of convey
I mean, James Cameron.
Oh, nothing like a Kirk Cameron movie. Kirk Cameron in science fiction, and it's like Jesus that can shoot laser beams out of his.
The reason they're
eyes.
changing is because everybody is going to hell.
You're going to hell.
It's funny though, because we talk about that balance that there should. So the other writer on this wrote on Die Hard, Next of Kin, another 48 Hours. So you're like, you have a pure action guy, you know what I mean? And you have a really a sci-fi writer. So maybe
a sci-fi movie.
Yeah. And then it just wasn't pulled off 100% the way it should have been. But I was happy to watch it, man. Like I said, I hadn't watched it in a long time, and I wasn't mad. It was worth watching. I've watched a lot worse films since 1992. You know?
No shit, right? No, fucking cool movie. Totally worth it. If you get a chance to watch it, you got to check it out. Not Leviathan from 2014, but Leviathan from
I think there's a Leviathan coming out in 2022 too, I saw. And I think maybe that was Prey that came out in 2019. I was looking stuff up. I was like, what? All these things have the same name. Son of a bitch.
This one does have a Blu-ray release, which is really good. Shout Factory, I think, re-released it.
Scream Factory, right? Which is
Scream Factory. Yeah.
I watched a lot of the interviews with a couple of people that were on. Yeah, like Ernie Hudson had one on there, and he was the one that was talking about that acting with the practical effects and all that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty cool that they actually were still doing practical effects back then.
Absolutely.
Of course, it was 88.
Yeah.
I think until about 92.
Did you see the computer that guy was using? Come on, son.
Yeah, I know, right? It was like
big block letters.
Keyboard was fucking, keyboard was not ergonomically correct. I can tell you that.
No, that's for sure.
Real feel clicks. But yes. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, for season 4, and we kicked it off with a Peter Weller movie that is a definite cult classic. This is one of those that is often forgot about, but yet most of Peter Weller's movies are,
except for RoboCop.
Yeah, except for RoboCop. That's his contribution to cinema.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. If that's what it is.
Yeah, well, RoboCop maybe, but like we're getting into RoboCop 3.
He wasn't in that one.
I know.
Yeah, and you know who directed that one? Fred Decker.
Oh, that's right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of fucked up.
Yep. My favorite part of RoboCop, Ed 209. Go.
Oh, yes. This is pretty fucking badass.
Right.
So, hey, stay tuned, everybody, to the
I think we're breaking up here, Brock. Okay. Andy's back.
That was the 4 beer burp right there. So that means our 4 beer time.
Yeah. Boop. We've hit a hard stop. So thanks for listening, everybody. Check us out where, Brock?
Dropculture.com. Dropculturepodcast@gmail.com is where you can reach us. You can get us on Instagram at Dropculture, Facebook at Dropculture,
Twitter at Dropculture.
Menards, aisle 14, right next to the dog toys, because we got all of our merch still there.
That's right.
Actually been selling pretty well. Thank you guys. And drop us a line. You know, we love it.
Absolutely. Peace.
Later, dudes.